Hi, what's up? I'm Andre from the YouTube channel Black Nerd Comedy, Eddie, the Blue Ranger on Power Rangers Hyperforce, and you're watching Power Rangers Action Activate.
I have a cat. Hello, it's me, Gazbot, for Action Activate. And if I'm Gazbot and this is Action Activate, well, then
you've got the gray hat wearing Big Dog. Haven't seen this guy in a while, but
thought Big Dog hat.
It is. This is. I don't know if this necessarily is one, but I usually wear a black hat, so I figured do that. And both of us failed in one regard. Today we are recording on May the 4th. We have no Star Wars accoutrement on us, but we do have cool T-shirts.
I took it out of my pocket. I thought about this. My wallet is a Mandalorian wallet, so I always have Star Wars with me whenever I need it.
Well, you don't have it now, so you still failed. But
no,
I have a brand new from Shirt Punch Ink 1 shirt that even you haven't seen.
Oh, I haven't. Ranger Slayer and Draken, and that's the Zord. I forget the name of it.
The Grave Zord.
Yeah. I'm annoyed that I don't have a Star Wars thing within reach of me that I can throw up on the screen.
Do I have one? Oh, hang on. I think I have one before you do. Ha ha! I do. You lose.
Oh. All right. This is not about Star Wars, but you talk to people while I make Star Wars happen.
All right. So the long-awaited by a few review of Shattered Past episode 5 is today. We were going to review this, I want to say like 2 weeks ago. Life happened. We gave you guys some ramblings instead. Oh, there you go.
How about that?
That's a lot of trades.
Yeah, I got more. This is all I can hold.
All right. Have you read those all or no?
Some, not all.
Okay. I figured I'm the same way. I just thought I'd ask.
I will eventually. I don't just collect them to collect them. I just haven't got to it. But anyway, yes, Shattered Grid.
Yeah, Shattered Past 5. So this one, I forget how long episode 4 came out because we reviewed it a few months ago.
Yeah, several months at least, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So we always do this for Power Rangers or Power Rangers fan series. Initial thoughts for episode 5.
This series and the productions that come from Crimson Vision and by extension Nerdbot in general are of good quality.
Yes.
And in many cases better than other fan series and or the actual series.
Yep.
And this still sticks to that, but is not the strongest of the releases of this series, in my opinion.
Agreed. I was going to say in short, in one sentence, this episode was good, but this episode was not great in the sense of I had all of these emotions that I've had in other episodes. I still thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, though, after watching episode 4, I thought we were done with more setup. And although this had a lot of cool moments, this still felt like another setup episode.
This is tough because, again, I sort of agree. I like it and I want to see more.
Yep.
I partially agree with you that it's more setup. Well, I 100% agree that it's setup, but my worry is that it's not actual setup where we'll get payoff later, but that it's just little like side dalliances that won't pay off and quick little, we had access to this actor, so we're going to throw this in there, but it won't really go anywhere, which I understand. I don't remember if I said this last episode or not, but one of the fears I have as a fan of shows like The X-Files and Lost when they were on, and kind of now the show Picard, although Picard isn't my favorite show, but all of them had a similar problem where they were really cool and had fun stuff going on, but they kept introducing more stuff. And also this, and here's a new mystery, but before we answer that, here's another mystery. And then maybe we'll kind of answer this one, but here's 3 more. And by the end of the show, it was such a fun ride, but you get to the end and you're like, they never explained this, this, and this, and this contradicted that, and what happened to that character, and that's not happening here. But it could.
Yeah,
So a lot of
I
how
can
much
see
I
where the
enjoy
fear
it
is.
going to be how do they end this and how. And part of it is smart because they're dimension hopping and time hopping. And so some of it is like, well, that was another dimension and we can just poke something in here real quick. And, like, and some of it is Ranger actors that they've got to cameo. And you're not going to say no to that. And if they can only show up for one day to shoot one scene, I understand you're going to say
Yeah.
yes. And so, for example, the thing, well, we're kind of jumping out of order. I thought
Go for it.
we're jumping, the thing with Mike showing up, and forgive me,
Yes.
I'm forgetting the actor's name, but Magna Defender. That was cool. And it was like,
Yep.
okay, here's a little side tangent. He ends up there. They got that actor. They built the little set. He makes that, oh, you're from what galaxy are you? Lost, huh? Lost Galaxy. Good joke. I like that whole scene. I don't have an issue with that scene. I don't think we're going to see that actor again in this series. I could be wrong, but and he gives him the Magna Defender sword. Again, another joke where he thinks it's for him and he's like, it's not for you. So funny jokes. I like it. And he talks about being the Solar Ranger in the future. Like, so like I like everything about that scene. And if I would like it if we saw Mike again, I understand we probably won't, but that Magna Defender sword setup has to pay off somewhere else. Otherwise, like, what was the point? Just because?
Yeah.
And that may or may not pay off, but I feel like there's a lot of scenes like that. That's emblematic of some, and we'll just have to wait and see,
Yeah, I felt like in terms of setups, that one I feel pretty confident in. Every time we've seen them set up another ranger or another team or something like that, thus far we've seen that payoff. And one thing I thought of before we started filming today was I know they have a comic book that is Shattered Past through
Right.
Kickstarter, and I'm wondering, just because we are not current patrons of their Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, sorry, Patreon.
Wait, was it a Kickstarter reward or a Patreon reward?
Patreon, sorry. I was saying Kickstarter meant Patreon. They have...
We are bad people. We are bad fans. Be better fans than us.
Yes. They have 3 or 4 issues now, and I've seen just through the covers that they promote on social media that the Omega Pink Ranger is morphed. You see Landon morphed with the Zeonizer and stuff like that, and I'm wondering how much stuff is one of those things where, like, if you didn't read the crossover, some stuff doesn't make as much sense kind of thing, or if it's just supplementary.
2 things here. One, if you're a fan of our show and you want to donate to their Patreon and send us the comics so we could read them, so we could talk about them, we'd be happy to. We're both kind of broke right now. So, if anybody that's watching this wants to get those to us, feel free, DM us. But other than that, in the future, hopefully we'll do it ourselves. But that makes sense. And it could be true, but I don't love it. And it makes me think of, for some reason I always go to Star Wars, but it's so easy. The prequels, not my favorite. A lot of people not their favorite. Some people like them more than others, whatever. But a lot of people have said like, oh, but if you read all the books, it makes so much sense. And if you read this comic series, it connects things. That's great. And that those comics and books and cartoons are doing a great job. Doesn't make the movies good. Doesn't make the movies make sense. Now, I'm not comparing these to prequels in terms of like they're that bad. But like if you need to read a comic to make the episode make sense, I think that's a failure. If reading the comic book enriches it and it's just more backstory, then that's a success. And having not read the comic, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's on me.
Yeah. With this, I guess kind of diving in formally, let's start at the beginning. I know with us, we've been kind of gamey on how much we're showing just because of YouTube. Yeah. But
I mean, it's not it's muted. Oops, hold on. It has a thing in front of it. It's got us talking. It's got closed caption. We're talking about copyright strikes. Worry about, and some of these squares are blanked out completely, and it's not even a major studio. So I don't know. And this is the definition of review, but
so right here, to my understanding, this scene is with people who donated to the, I believe it's like the Megazord tier to have roles in the series. So this is students at the Wind Ninja Academy.
Right. But before that, we get a shot of it being constructed. Which I appreciate. Well, okay. Oh, all right, fine. I'll say it. I feel bad because we just kind of were negative, but like the construction apparatus around the building and like the shot in general is fine. Like they probably did a little combination of Photoshop and like, an image of the actual thing or whatever. But for some reason, that bulldozer bothers me. It just pasted on there. It's like, it's not, if they covered, like put the dirt layer in front of it or something, I don't know. it could have been done better
A
easily.
visual effect that bothers Gaza, not me, for one. First tally.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a little more forgiving when it's animated, but that's not even animated. So anyway, but then, yeah, we have these kids. I have no problem with any of these actors. Like,
No, everything here was cool. Jackson comes in. He's like, "Hey, you guys got to leave. The Inferno Ranger's back. We got to fight him. No, we're gonna fight with you. Blah blah blah." I like kind of the subtleties of the teacher that he's talking to is a ground elemental or earth elemental based on the crest he has, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
And
then we see Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
Inferno
cool intro.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, I liked Inferno in this episode. It took me a couple times watching to fully understand the timeline.
Yeah, I've had that. We've talked about this before because it's also, this is after First Ninja? No, I'm mixing that one up.
It's after First Ninja, and I guess it's after Rise of the Ninja.
Right.
Based on what he says.
But it's like, yeah, it's because they haven't finished production on those episodes yet. It's odd to see. It's like a sequel to something that hasn't finished yet. So it's a little bit weird. But my guess is that this series gets the most views and likes and money and whatever. And they have like guest stars showing up and other people. So they have to kind of focus their energy here. Whereas those ones they can go back to and finish anytime. It's kind of
that part of the timeline didn't bother me. As we jump forward later and they fight Inferno in the past, that's the part that I didn't fully understand. And I take that more as on me than the storytelling. With this, I like them calling out the other series that they're associated with. That's cool.
Yeah,
we see Crimson Ranger, also cool. Get a little bit of a fight going here. I liked the effects right there as well into the title screen.
All effects.
No, I didn't mean it as a jab at you. I just meant commentary in general. So here, we see
picking up from the end of the last episode where he
So the one thing I found odd about this scene was that they're obviously very weary of a lot of stuff, but like right away, it's very clear that people are following incredibly close to them.
Right.
And I just found that odd from a storytelling perspective of like either have them in where they're running away from them or don't have them. Because right here, it's like, okay, it's very clear that you guys are kind of like screwed.
Funny enough, that didn't bother me at all. I understand what you're saying, but I took it as this is how I took it. One or both of them clocked that they were being watched and followed. But like, and I don't know what I'd really do in this situation. Wait, actually, I do know what I do in this situation because I've had it happen. But yeah, okay. So based on movies and my own experience, where one time literally a bunch of dudes decided to chase me down the street in the middle of the night, typically I would not go, oh shit, they're coming, you run. You kind of like note it and you're like, and now you're thinking, you're kind of trying to walk and look casual. And you're like, oh, what am I going to do about this? Until it gets aggressive and then you take off. So I think they were like, I think they noticed it was happening and they're like, all right, so they're coming up. I guess we better run now. Let's go. I think that's what was going on there. I don't think they were oblivious or anything.
Okay.
Did I ever tell you that story?
You haven't. That's the first I've heard of it.
I'm not going to tell it now, but maybe on one of our...
Can you tell me what state it took place in?
Delaware.
Got it. Okay. We'll continue another day. Another reason you hate Delaware.
Yeah.
So right here we see SPD is onto them. He's like, hey, SPD's onto us.
Right.
And they get fired upon and go into this little...
Overpass,
yeah. Or like a tunnel is how I saw it.
I like... Yeah, oh, it is a tunnel. Well, I mean, it could be... It doesn't matter. It's a tunnel that maybe is an overpass as well. I like where they explain why they shouldn't morph. Because like, why wouldn't you morph? Going back to like overall thoughts of this episode, I feel like this episode started kind of weak compared to other episodes and got better as it went along. Yep. And I watched it fully sitting down, taking notes. I lost those notes, so now they're just in my head. Last week in preparation, or week before last, when we were going to do it, but then life got in the way. So I was kind of rewatching it while I did other stuff today in the background. And I had that thought of like, oh yeah, this scene wasn't like my favorite. But then later when we get to the scene with, not TJ, what's his name? What's
Mike?
his son? No.
TK.
TK. When we get to the scene with TK, I'm like, oh, this scene's good though. Like, so I remembered in a broad sense that it kind of gets better as it goes. I didn't love this scene. I didn't.
There's two things that I didn't like. One, the tunnel, I understand why they're there, but anytime they're not on these two Rangers, it was really hard to tell what was going on. Like the lighting was very jarring.
Weird. We're gonna have different opinions. I liked the setting of the tunnel. I thought it was cool. Like a little
No, I
shade on
like
it.
that they were in the tunnel, but
Right.
anytime they were facing SPD, the lighting was so dark, it was
Right.
really hard to tell what was going on.
Like this shot right here that we're showing.
Mostly when Quantum hops in.
Okay, because my thought is, and nothing against these actors, they don't matter, quote unquote. They're four SPD Rangers that we're never going to see again. It doesn't matter who they are. So like they're just enemies at this point. But okay, so Quantum comes in, or I thought that was kind of silly to be honest. They said like do delta pattern or beta whatever, and like I get what they're trying to do, but it was literally just like you two step up there. I was like, yes. Like,
Yeah.
like it just, if they just did that and didn't say anything, it wouldn't bother me. Or if they said it and did something awesome, but it just, I don't know, it's a nitpick. It just seems silly.
Yeah. I like the further melding of Time Force and SPD.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand it and feel like we needed a little bit more explanation of why only Quantum is leading this team and how it's not Eric and all this other stuff.
Well, we don't know what timeline we're even in. Eric might be dead by this point.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is like, it's, to me, it was straddling this line of none of this matters or it matters and we didn't tell you enough.
I'm with a lot of the things that I didn't 100% know the backstory or maybe missed. I gave myself like, okay, 20% of this is probably me missing a detail or not following closely enough. But I think a big part of it is they're jumping from dimension to dimension, time to time, sometimes off screen. And so things might come up that are referring to something, but we never actually saw it, and it might pay off later. And it might just be like, hey, we're jumping around in time, and where we happen to be at this moment, this is the team that would hunt us. And when we jump again, it's a different team because it's a different time. And
you just took it as timey-wimey?
Timey-wimey, just kind of rolling with it. Like, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
I do like the effect for Quantum coming in, how it was like a different kind of teleport effect.
Yeah, cool. I liked that as well. Now here, Quantum's leading them.
And I think he's in shadow because it's supposed to be like a dramatic reveal. Because then, see, I'm waiting to see his face. See if it's as dark as you say. I don't remember. Oh, it is pretty dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice before. He's got the is it Edenoi?
Oh, the dot. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
The little crystal. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't notice it. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like this guy. How he's sort of like, I don't do teams. I'm kind of my own thing. Whatever. Like, he's interesting premise for this character. Up to now, I really don't have a problem with this scene. Like some of the visuals, you might have a point, and like my little choreography joke, whatever. That's a cool jacket. I guess I guess that's it. He turns around, and I can see him there. Yeah, it is just they're just using natural lighting, I guess, and so when they're not facing that way,
I like right there, lighting's good. Other way, very difficult.
You're 100% right, but I didn't notice it as much until you pointed it out. So, this is where I start to not like it. And it's weird because I like comedy, and I like comedy from, I want to call him Jackson Brooks, but that's not his name. It's
Sam O'Neill.
Sam O'Neill, thank you. I like comedy from Sam O'Neill. But what this feels like to me, and this is, I don't think this would happen, is like they had a couple different ideas for jokes here, and they just did them all. That's what it feels like. And I'm like, you should have picked one.
Yeah.
Because he says, okay, can I say one thing? Quantum's like, no. And he pulls out his gun, get ready to fire. He's a no-nonsense guy. That fits the little bit we know of him. That's perfect. And then he's like, okay, but I'm going to say it. And they're like, you'd think that it would almost be funnier if he just got shot. Like, because that's the thing. It's stunned. It's not like they're going to kill him. So it'd be funny if he's like, well, I'm just going to, he's like, I said no. Fine. They're going to let him get his joke out. Okay, here we go. But then he's like, let me say the one thing and we'll come with you. And then he grabs the Quantum Defender. Or is it Quantum Defender?
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out the way he expected. Okay. I'm also sort of fine with that. But then they don't do anything. Like they still don't shoot, stand down, and then he drops the Quantum Defender, and then they still don't shoot. And it just is this escalating thing of like, okay, but don't shoot, but we're gonna tried. Nope, didn't work. But don't shoot, but I'm like, haha. And if it was killing lasers, okay, but they can stun them or imprison them. So like, why would you keep taking chances?
Yeah, I feel like here to end that kind of back and forth, one or both of them needed to be shot, and then the other person needed to create the diversion, which they do to get out of there.
Yeah.
But it needs to be more of a, oh, shoot, I'm kind of making do with what I have, as opposed to, haha, no, haha, 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 and then like boom.
It was made worse. I agree. It was made worse by the fact that they introduced this Quantum Ranger. The only thing we know about him, I'm no nonsense. I don't work well with others. They called me in because no one else could get you. No, I don't want to listen to you. Oops, derp. I'm just gonna sit here while you use multiple powers to try to defeat me, and that's it. And like, so they introduced a character and completely undercut him immediately.
So one thing I do like that we get out of that scene though is I'm assuming when he takes the Quantum Defender, he has it scanned so he can get it later.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then they establish, whoa, the Quantum Defender is very powerful. It could level everything. So I'm hoping later it's like, by the way, boom, and then he like wrecks some like bunch of cronies or something.
Yeah. Now, that being said, once we started getting into this scene, I liked this scene much better.
TK goes to the past and he's morphed, but he doesn't know when he is.
Right. I think part of, you know what, I'm going to pause for a second. Well, I'll just let it go. Part of, I think what I want to get the band back together. They kind of split everybody up and it's like, okay, but they had a fun dynamic together and now they're all on their own side quest again. And that's fine. But yeah.
Yeah. I understand you need the side quest, but again, I feel like we had a lot of those last episode, which is why I thought this episode would be more teamed up. Yeah. And they do at some point, but it's like you said, some side quests went better than others.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that the ninjas are going fast, and for a minute he's like, "Was this turbo powers?" Like, just we don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. I do like his fusion suit he wears. I probably said that before.
I do too. The helmet is a very awesome design for the team that designed it.
Yeah. So he shoots a spiral saber, and he, unbeknownst, it is a little bit like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to hit something, and it was the Inferno Ranger. And the back and forth with these guys is fine. And then when Inferno comes in, I like the comedy there a lot.
Yeah, I did too. This is that part I was talking about where I was confused again, where it's just like, oh, we're in 1995. I'm like, okay, then when does First Ranger take place? And how this is one of those things that's tricky, and this isn't a bad thing, but with so many series connecting, that's part of what makes this whole kind of Nerdbot Crimson Vision network great. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I don't know what the timeline is.
Right.
And I don't know if this is Prime. I don't know if this is off. Because
you need like a little asterisk with a box. Like this is 1995, which takes place 2 years before this and 1 year.
Yeah, like a little thing that says if we're in Timeline Prime, and if so, how this is tying in, because that's the thing where we've seen two different Sams throughout these series. Mm-hmm. We see this Sam, and we see apparently a different Sam in Unworthy, and a possibly different Sam in Bloodline of the Grid, or the same Sam. I don't personally know, but I think they have explained it.
They did say it was a different one. They did.
Okay.
For that.
But see what I mean? Where it's like,
well, I guess this comes back to a lot of it's going to be how this pans out as it finishes or continues, or I assume they have an ending in mind and they're not going to go forever, but either way, there's going to be resolutions or continuations of these things. And depending on how they wrap them up will depend on a lot of my opinion where they set them up. And also like you said it better than I was even thinking it, the timey-wimey stuff of I think there is a part of me that just stopped trying to keep track and just well, they're jumping around, stuff's happening. Okay, I know this character, I know they're good, and okay, so we help them, and this character's here because it's a legacy actor coming back, and that's cool. And I that's what I say. It's partially my own fault because I've stopped trying to keep track, and I think that's fine, and it's allowing me to enjoy it and not worry about it. Unless next episode they're like, oh, you haven't been paying attention. Now you're missing, now this doesn't make sense. And it's like, oh no, and if it was a week-to-week show, it'd be easier to keep track, but it's more like movies that come out every couple months. So I started rewatching today. I started rewatching the last episode because I'm like, where did this setup come from? And did I forget? I'm like, oh no, there was a bunch of other stuff last episode that is not necessarily related to this So yeah, I'm hoping the fact that I'm not worrying about keeping too much track of it is the right way to watch it, because otherwise I'm going to be a mess later.
Yeah. This dynamic though was good, especially before they even fight. I kind of like their chemistry.
Yeah.
Especially as we said, crossing different series that we've already seen these guys in, and then kind of seeing that crossover we didn't know we needed necessarily.
Right. No, I think they have good banter,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the banter I was missing when it was, Omega and Time Red, or when TK came, like they sort of like arguing friendship a little bit, and that's where they're at the beginning. They're not really friends yet, but and similar to what I was saying, the opposite of what I was saying last episode, you have the I'll say enemy opposition, I guess. Like, I'm gonna take you down, and they're like, well, here's a bunch of stuff we're saying, but the joke works because they get the one joke off of like, hey, Reddy. He's like, hey, we don't know each other that well. That was funny, because it's always like the Reddy. And then they morph, and he knocks one of them out of the morph. I'm like, that was great. And then later he calls it back. He's like, you should have said Reddy. The joke worked, and the action worked, and it logically made sense. So like, it's weird. I didn't think about it until now. I'm watching it for the third time. So to be fair, we're really analyzing it. But in a way, it was like they showed version A, and then they're like, but here we perfected it, like right after it. Like, here's a very similar scenario, but just done better.
Yeah, I liked that kind of joke / payoff. Yep. I liked this fight. I liked how there was kind of that team up aspect, not necessarily of both of them fighting him all at once the whole time, but we get a initial part of the fight here. It kind of takes a pause. They figure out a way to try to take him down, stuff like that. So the one thing I will say about, actually, no, never mind. It goes back to that fight later, so I'll talk about it more later. Back to Omega Pink and Omega SPD.
They're talking about how his morpher needs charge. It's not working properly.
Yeah. And they're kind of hiding out to charge it because it's solar charged.
Yes. And then this character shows up who, I forget what they call him, like Time Hunter, I think is what.
Yeah, a Terminator.
A Terminator. I forgot / didn't realize this was Campbell Cooley doing the voice.
I 100% didn't know until I saw him go, people didn't even know it was me. And I was like, what?
I saw him announce that before I watched the episode. So I knew he was in the episode. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, what's Campbell going to do? And then I forgot. And I was just watching the episode. And this character showed up, did his thing. And I got to the end, and I'm like, wait, where was Campbell? And then I was backing up. I'm like, oh, it was this guy. And like, yeah. So kudos to him as someone who we've talked to many times on the show and who I've seen do many performances. I didn't immediately know it was him. So
yeah, I feel like we've got a pretty good radar of voice acting friends of the show that we can recognize. This is the most different I've ever heard him, and it was really good. Yeah, so kudos to you, Campbell.
I will say now, watching it the third time, I was like, oh, yep, I could hear it now. But definitely did not the first time.
Yeah.
And that's a testament both to Campbell's acting and to the episode, because I forgot to listen for him. So obviously, despite whatever criticisms we're giving, I was into the story.
Yeah.
And I like this scene. I like this scene here where he kind of tricks him and gets his device.
Yeah.
This is fine. A little bit of comedy, a little bit of action, but it makes logical sense. This is what I feel like his character should be doing, kind of like Spider-Manning it, like making dumb jokes, maybe not winning the fight, but having like a little plan that works out. Like, oh, you beat me up, but I got that spider tracer on you. Like, I feel like that's when this character works the best.
Yeah. I forget how they built up the Time Hunter of like, I feel like a lot of people they fight, they're like, these are crazy bad guys who are nigh unbeatable, and then they beat them really quick.
Did they talk about the Time Hunter before this? I thought
no, the Time Hunter showed up and he's like giving the backstory on what a Time Hunter is and why they sent it and blah blah blah, and then he's like, I'll distract him or it, and you get this stuff going.
It seemed It does seem to me though that he got his butt kicked and they weren't gonna beat him. It was just like they teleported him away. Mm-hmm. So it was like,
I mean beat as in they won the war, not necessarily the battle kind of thing of that situation.
Sure. Cut back to these guys. And going with your thing about the team up, I like that they don't get together and fight, but he contributes his power to the sword to make it more powerful. That made me think of like a very like a Naruto anime kind of thing too. Like take my chi and this will mix with the wind style, and then
and I like too how it just establishes TK further of like, I've teamed up before. I'm thinking on my feet, very creative of like, hey, what's your power again? By the way, charge up my sword.
Yeah. He dodges some fire, which I don't know if that's because he's turbo or not, but I'll go with it. And then
it works.
He does the little saber swing there.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's my cat trying to get up my my leg, but she's drugged up, so she's doing it badly. She just got dental surgery. For those that don't know, that's why. Okay, hold on a second. Come here.
So the one thing that,
Speaking of anime, this is Uzumaki Kitty, named after Naruto.
there you go. The one thing that I will say about this scene, that problem is the wrong word.
Okay.
We have seen, and obviously, through talking to various friends of the show, the Inferno Ranger was coming in this episode, and he's a big deal.
Yes.
I didn't like how quickly he was dealt with.
I agree, but I guess it's that thing of like, I'm giving them the grace to see where it goes. I'm assuming this isn't the end of him.
Oh no, I don't think it's the end of him, but a quick defeat like that, I'm like, I feel like I should have seen the blast, and then you do the teleport away, not the
yeah. I'll give you that.
Just a personal thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess part of the problem, and again, maybe that's not the right word. Part of the challenge, the difficulty of this series is it's like, let's take every era of Rangers ever, including some new made-up stuff that was never in it, and just basically have all the most powerful beings from across time and space, and yet somehow make them all cool and powerful.
Copacetic.
Yeah, because it's like, because if this guy was strong enough to beat TK, then maybe he's strong enough to beat Draken, or like I don't know. It's just like it's got to be hard to do the power balancing for that, And then
we get some more backstory there. Oh, we'll see again. And then this is the only thing that bummed me out. I really like Omega Pink. I'm forgetting her civilian name, but like we just met her.
Yeah. Agreed. This maybe again is the thing in the comics or something, because I simultaneously liked and didn't like this conversation. What I liked about it was it's like, oh man, the thing's finally charged up. It feels like it's been forever. And he's like, well, it has been like weeks or whatever. It's like, okay, they're acknowledging time has passed. It wasn't like 30 minutes later. It's that thing we talk about all the time where they didn't need to film it and show us. They just told it. But then he says it's been like 12 time jumps and we did all this crazy stuff and I collected all those weapons. And it's like, that might have been interesting. What? Even if it was a montage or just do one or two and be like, ooh, that was the fifth one of those. And again, I could let that go as just explanation of what's been going on. But that would almost make more sense if it came next episode. The fact that it was like a scene ago is like odd. And then he starts like waxing like, oh man, we've been through so much. Can't believe how well we've done. And I'm like, with her? We just met her. You had like one event. Like, what about, the Time Bros? And I guess maybe he's talking about all of it, but he's talking about it to her. And it's like, okay. And then like you said, and then, okay, well, I guess this is the new, and then she leaves. And that is thematic where he's like, everybody leaves me, whatever. But it felt like it should have been more or less.
Yeah.
It should have done more or less. It was this weird middle ground where it's like, oh, bye. like
either she comes in really quick and it's kind of that like more Easter egg feeling, or she's like an honorary Time Bro of, we've seen you on these adventures and not you telling us about the adventures, kind of like you were saying.
Yeah. And maybe she's going to come back later and like, maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
Maybe it'll be like a River Song thing in Doctor Who where like she shows up at different points in the timeline, knowing different things. And that could be fun, which again goes back to what I've been saying a lot. A lot of how I feel about what's going on now is going to depend on where it goes in the future. And I guess the reason this episode wasn't one of my favorites is because of that. Because earlier it was like, this is just fun and good and I like it. And now it's like, where are we going? Are you going to make this make sense? So like before there wasn't really any stakes. Like I just enjoyed it. And now it's like, I enjoy it, asterisk. Stick the landing, guys. Stick the landing. Yep. Yeah. So, and I don't know, have they maybe this might be a Patreon thing. Have they publicly said how many episodes they're going to do or how long it's going to be or, because
I don't remember if they did. That doesn't mean they didn't. I just can't tell you off the top of my head.
I don't remember it, but sometimes that helps too. Cause if I knew, there's like 10 more episodes, I'd be like, oh, I'm not worried. But if it's like, there's 2, I'm like, ugh, 2 really? I guess they could do it.
Yeah.
An example of, okay. So when I was rewatching, like kind of skimming through the episode before, some things I was reminded of is like, oh yeah, they introduced, I don't know what the character's name is. He was General something. It was Billy, original MMPR Billy, David Yost.
Oh, General
whatever. And he had all these like morphers and stuff.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, so he's some kind of big bad. Now, when Kat came in and gave the Zeomorpher, it was like, I'm here to give you a Zeomorpher. I don't expect to ever see her again. That makes perfect sense. But the way they introduced him, it's like, well, he was introduced like a Lord Zed, big bad kind of guy. He's got to come back and do something, right? And okay, we didn't deal with him this episode, but then it comes to be the thing, like, I guess maybe next episode, but now we're talking like a year later, we're going to see what happens in like real life time. And similarly, they did the thing with Mesagog, and they're like building that up.
The Gold Ranger, yeah.
And where's that come? And this comes back to like they're introducing so much stuff. I hope to be wrong. And in like 4 episodes, this crazy, super sinister 6 villain team, it all comes together, and it's like, what? And then he blows up the Quantum Defender, and that'd be awesome. But right now, it's like, I hope we're not just like, hey, isn't this cool? Anyway, moving on. Like that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. Same. I'm cautiously optimistic in that regard, and it's a thing kind of like we've said on either reviewing these series or even the main series of like, sometimes it seems like we're being very nitpicky because of how good it is and how much we like it and care.
I'm not holding this to the standard of some people doing something on YouTube. I'm holding this to the standard of a show I'm watching that I like. The same
and Power Rangers.
And Power Rangers. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and there, I want to say this diplomatically. We review a fair amount of fan film stuff, and there are some that we want to review that we haven't yet. So remember that when I say the next thing. There are some out there that we're never going to review because they're not really,
we're not
invested enough to review them. It's like, I don't
to take the time for
you have to like it enough to criticize it, kind of in a weird way, and that doesn't mean if yours is out there and we haven't reviewed it, that's the case, because there are some that you haven't had time to. But it comes from a place of love, and it comes from a place of like, ooh, how can I help it be, whatever. And it's also opinion. People might hear this and go, yeah, that's a good point. They might be like, no, idiot, you're wrong. It's fine the way it is. And that's fine too.
Yeah.
This is the scene with Mike. I feel like I said everything I had to say here. So if you want to talk about it.
So what I like here, that I think was a big strength in this episode, is this is one of the few times that I felt like Sam really kind of didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Where like everything else, he's like, I'll figure it out. And this one, he's like, I'm in space and I legitimately don't know what's going on. Side note, we've talked about this offline, but I think it's like Nerded Up is their website, but Nerdbot sells Power Rangers related merchandise, and this jacket is one of the jackets on their website, and it was cool to see it on a person, because that's the biggest thing with these, where I'm like, other than like the Sam jacket and I think like the Time Force jacket, I haven't seen most of their like regular stuff on a person, where I'm like, I really want to know how it looks, and that looks really cool.
Yeah, and also it makes it like screen accurate or like character true or whatever you want to call it, where it's not just like, when this sounds weird to say, because obviously if you wear it, it's like, I'm a fan just wearing a thing. But like, I've always been a fan of, despite the shirt I'm currently wearing, I was always the kind of person that like, I'd rather have a shirt with Batman's logo, like Batman would wear, than a picture of Batman. You know what I mean? And so it's similar, like, a jacket that says Power Rangers SPD, or a shirt that says Shattered Past. I would rather have the jacket they wore in the show and like feel like I'm that character, like I'm still a child.
Like casual cosplay almost.
Casual cosplay, yeah. But going back to what we were saying about money issues, I have not bought any of these things. I love this set. I love the lighting. I love the practical effects with a little bit of CGI dolloped in there. It's great. And that's what I was saying. That's what's so hard about like this whole little microcosm is a great scene, and I like almost everything about it, but it's just like, okay, I hope this fits into the bigger picture. But again, if I had access to that actor and he said, hey, I'll do a scene, I would also do that. So
you would also be like, we're going to slightly rewrite this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's,
I think the thing that I want the takeaway from this, and correct me if it's different from you, if just this scene was what it was, I'm fine with that. As long as that sword comes back later and is relevant. Yes, I don't need to see Mike again. I don't need to see the Solar Rangers again.
Which but there needs. We don't want
no. We absolutely would. We're being realistic, and we're like, the likelihood of this happening is probably not very high.
But here's something I was thinking. Like, I agree with you. The sword needs to reach some kind of destination and mean something somewhere. preferably in this series, not in a comic or in some other series that comes out in 2 years or something. But go ahead.
You first. I'll remember my theory.
I don't have a theory, but one thing I thought of, having seen a few behind the scenes pictures, this set is a lot of it is practical effects. That takes a lot of time, energy, craft, work, money, all that. If this is the only time they use it, I'll be shocked and disappointed. It seems to me this should be used for other things. What that is, I don't know. A Magna Defender spinoff series or just more. I don't know, but it seems a shame to not use it, and I feel like they would, you know.
Yeah. I was thinking of if they were going to make a new Magna Defender and it's somebody we've already been introduced to the series, what would be kind of cool?
I mean, I would want it to be somebody who isn't already a Ranger.
Yes.
Who have we been introduced to that is not a Ranger but is a main character? Go ahead and tell me. I'm probably gonna be like, oh yeah, obviously, but I'm blanking.
Landon's wife.
I thought she was a member of Time Force.
No, she apparently gets like murdered at some point, I think, by the like mirror monster from SPD.
Oh, wait, okay, but so she was a cadet. She was a cadet, right? And she didn't make it. Oh, so she gets the power and that's how she survives or something?
She's the, other than like another Fusion Ranger, she's the only person that we've seen that I can recall that other than like from the Ninja Academy where it's like, here you go.
Yeah, but it could also be a new character too.
Yeah, which is fine. I'm just saying if it's established, that's my guess. If it's not, you know, I'm obviously all ears.
It could be like a kid he has, and then he's like does another jump, and it's like, oh hey dad, what's up? I'm 20. You don't know me yet, and he's like, anyway, here's your sword. You know, like.
I'm open to anything.
Or a mystery Magna Defender comes and helps them in that big Sinister Six battle I was talking about that's going to happen. And and then later it's like, well, who was that? We don't know. And then later on it's me.
It's actually the big Dawg Defender. Been keeping it under wraps this whole time, guys.
Whoa. You're going to get in trouble.
Watch this April 1st, 2023, just to make sure we're all on the same page that it is not something that is happening. But if it is and you guys need somebody, I'm here and let me know. Haven't gotten the call yet, but you know, my phone line's open.
Yeah. I'm sure that they're trying to call you right now. You should be picking up the phone.
Hey, and I heard they need a Robo Knight voice, and Campbell turned it down, so your phone line is also open.
Oh, we're just in fantasy land now. Okay, fair enough. Mike also talks about, just like Omega Pink did, like, oh, in the future, there's another version of you. And by the way, we have this mutual friend in the future that helps set all this up. And then he's like, here's a new Omega Morpher because yours is all messed up, which is good because it was going to be like, at some point, they're going to have to fix it or find a way to do it. And okay, fine, here's a new one. It's all fixed. And then he's like, you're kind of close to where you want to be, but not exactly. So here you go. Then we
kick Tommy's ass for me.
Yeah. Then we finally go back to Landon Tate, year 2021. That's also interesting. Now I think about, like, they do sometimes give the year, but not always. So anyway.
Well, here's the thing: they often give the year because I think they did for TK as well, but they don't say, "Is this the same timeline, or are we in a different universe, or are we not?" That's the only thing that gets me because of the things I stated earlier.
Okay. So here's Landon Tate, and this is okay. So this is, I think, Green. I'm sorry, yeah, Green Psycho.
No, Psycho Black.
Psycho Black saves Green Psycho. Oh, that was another thing I was thinking of. At the end of the last episode, they introduced Psycho Red. They had Patrick David come in, and he's like, I'm Psycho. And he or wait, no, see, now maybe I'm getting
No, that's Bloodline.
Bloodline. Okay, I'm getting mixed up. Never mind. So that's fine. That's Bloodline. But it's weird because Psychos are a part of this too. So it starts.
So here's a question I had. Not necessarily an issue, but a question.
Yes.
Why does Psycho Black have Psycho Green's dagger?
I could answer that. Wait, I thought I could answer that. I thought he stole it from his pocket.
He stole the card. I don't think he stole the dagger, or I could be wrong.
I thought that. Okay, let me put up a little grid here so we don't get a copyright, and then I'm just gonna play it. Get in here. I visually you might be right, but I assumed he swiped it. So okay, so we see him come in, looking at his morpher, and then. Where's the swish?
It's about to happen.
Okay, there's one swish. He looks. That's missing. That disappeared out of his hand. Watch. Oh wait, okay, he looks there. It's missing. Oh no, that's Psycho's hand.
Yeah. So he like teleports it away or something.
Okay, here's my theory. He took the card. Maybe he didn't take the knife, but he teleports it away. Maybe by like something about doing that got the knife in his hand. He freed the green Psycho. He took the green Psycho's dagger power. I guess visually you're right how that happened, but I just took it as like he took it off of Landon. That's how he got it. I didn't think it was the black Psycho having a black blade or something like that.
That's what I was unsure. I'm like, is this powers he's borrowing from Psycho Green, or do all Psycho Rangers have this kind of like a blade blaster for Mighty Morphin?
It's definitely green. It's like I'll, if we get a better shot of it, but I can see the green on it.
Okay. They do a little back and forth.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, we beat you before." And he's like, "You weren't alone. You had the other Rangers with you."
Yeah. I still like these new Time Force guns they've been using for this series. I don't even want to say they've been growing on me. I've liked them kind of from the get-go, and I like them more. Yeah, it's very green. I like them more and more as things progress.
Agreed. And that's a jacket I like a lot, is the Time Force jacket.
Yeah.
Something about this something about the Psycho suit seems slightly off to me. I don't know what. It's not terrible.
I'm guessing this is the Psycho green suit recolored. I could be wrong.
Okay, they've done that
but maybe it is.
Yeah, maybe that's all it is. Because it doesn't, and again, it's not one of those things that I noticed immediately, but as I look at it, I'm like, something feels just not 100%. Oh, here's where he does the Zeo. So again, this is a good example. He met Kat, she gave him the Zeo. He Zeo's up. Oh no, he's about to Zeo up. This was like a little.
No, he does a Zeo charged blast.
Right, but then, yes, you are correct there. But then he's about to actually use the power because he's getting blasted. And that's when TK's like, whoa, buddy, let's not do that yet. It's like, oh, man.
Yeah. TK coming in like that. Yeah, third time, bro.
Oh, good. Here we go. Finally, now we got things going. I do think it's funny that the Psycho is like, you didn't do it alone. He's like, I'll do it alone. And then it's like, well, here's the team. That's it.
Yeah.
Here's how it's going to happen. Like,
yeah. So right here, that was the thing. Yeah, Mike's like, use artillery mode when you need it, and then they do, and they're like, by the way,
that's cool.
Here's a bunch of our weapons, and get wrecked.
Yeah, he went from being like a DPS character to like a support character at the same time.
Yeah, big fan of this.
Yeah.
I like the in-space blaster that he's using. I don't know if we've seen him use it before for TK.
Yeah, I don't recall, and that I guess that. Maybe he got that from the artillery, and maybe he doesn't have that. Maybe
Maybe
because we've only seen him use Spiral Saber. We haven't even seen him use a Turbo Blaster, have we?
Nope, not that I can recall.
Yeah.
So right here, he's talking about a bunch of stuff. You're never gonna win. Yada yada yada. This is where I am a little confused. Not confused like, oh, like I don't know what's going on, but like. So you're going to put him in Timeline 0, which is super forbidden.
Right.
But we can't do that for Draken. We have to kill Draken. But we also can't just put him in Timeline 0, but we also can kill or we can't kill. Like, the morals in these next 2 minutes, I really struggle to understand.
Okay. Timeline 0, it seems like, is this prison where it's just like an inhumane prison. It's a prison, but it's like terrible and people are going to go
But it's nuts. Like right outside of time.
It's like worse than death. So it's like, oh, don't do that. But if they're, then it's like, it's almost like, well, see, here's the problem is like bringing in our morality into the Power Rangers world, but also this isn't the standard Power Rangers that we see on TV where they all, so it's like, I'm one of those people that it's like, if it's a fate worse than death, the moral thing to do is kill them. If you told me I'm going to put you in the 0 second outside of time where you'll never see anything or anyone and just be alone with your thoughts forever, I'd be like, please kill me. I'd rather have that. So that seems to me that's why this would be so immoral and so forbidden, right? That the only reason you would put something there is if it was a danger to the universe that couldn't be destroyed. So you give it a universal timeout.
Sorry.
But with like the Psycho Rangers, you can imprison them. So why did he have to go to Timeline 0? I don't quite get that. Why it needs
that's the thing where, to me, I like the whole concept of Timeline 0. I don't like, quote unquote, wasting it on Psycho Black.
Right.
and
I mean,
then
they were
saying,
obviously just introducing it, but yeah.
yeah, and then I'm like, oh, like if they said, oh, I'm going to do timeline 0, like, no, we absolutely can't. And kind of like how he stopped him from morphing.
He did say he's going to lock away Draken and anyone he recruits. He didn't say he had to kill him here. You were saying that, but I don't know where you're getting that.
I think his last line is like, I'm going to kill Lord Draken.
Right there, he just said he's going to lock away Draken and anyone he recruits. I'll see if he says something else. I'm looking at the closed captions. Yay, both ready. 2 psychos down. You got a plan? Always as much as I love. Okay, they're talking about getting a plan. Oh, and they talk about how what hurts Tommy / Draken the most is his own power.
Yeah, so they're going to get all the Tommy weapons to fight him,
Right.
which is cool. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in the fight, last episode where he was fighting Dino Thunder Tommy, Dino Thunder Tommy got beat, but he did kind of like stagger him a little bit with his blast.
Yeah.
And then they talk about, oh, you hit an energy armor Draken? That's cool. Like, and they kind of have a little buddy moment.
Yeah. Sam, I think, has the last line. It's like, I'm going to kill Lord Draken.
All right, focus. Draken is his own weakness. More like stealing weapons. Fine. All this makes sense. I have a feeling. Oh, okay, here we go. Then we take the weapons, use them to defeat Draken for good. Yeah, I have a feeling containment card won't be enough to hold Lord Draken. No. After everything he's done, all of the Power Rangers he's killed across time. Yeah, you're right. Timelines, there's only one option. I'm going to kill Lord Draken. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, to be honest. Like he's seen enough and okay, yeah.
Fine with me.
If you can't imprison him, you're going to kill him. I'm okay with that, especially because he's operating so far out of anybody's jurisdiction. He's already this outlaw. But he did say 2 minutes before, I'm going to imprison Draken and anybody that he recruits. So I guess the question is, can Lord Draken be sent to Timeline 0? And is that preferable to killing him morally? I would think killing him is preferable morally, personally. But then why? Why put Psycho Black there instead of? I guess it depends on what Timeline 0 is. I'm imagining that it's horrible. It's just the worst.
I imagine it is the Phantom Zone from Superman.
Yeah, but you're by yourself. It's just endless nothing. It's not even like you're there with other prisoners. It's just
I think because it's not used right now, it's just Psycho Black. That's my understanding. I could be wrong.
So it could be like end up being a bunch of villains together in there. Yeah, I guess. Well, like everything I keep saying, it's gonna have to see how it's gonna pan out. What is it gonna mean? And then we get into Save the Future. We gotta go back,
make a time jump. Power Rangers, Shattered Past.
Yeah. Good but not great.
Yep.
That's how I feel about it. Good but not great.
Yeah. Still enjoyed it. Yeah. Still a lot of good moments here. Kind of like you said, a lot that we need to see where the payoff is, and a lot of just kind of, we said this after episode 4, but like there are certain payoffs I need in episode 6 to kind of see where my pulse is. Still enjoying it. Still excited for the next episode.
Looking forward to the next one. Yeah.
And
they got to start pruning those timelines a little bit.
Yeah.
Like whatever is not important, let's make it clear that's not important. And whatever, wrap it up, start coalescing. We've been spreading out so much. Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and this is a personal nitpick that doesn't need to be listened to, not that anything needs to be listened to, but like part of the excitement I have for these episodes is being very surprised by things going into them. Certain
it's
things,
not predictable. It's certainly not predictable.
Yeah, some of the things I know you reveal beforehand to hype up the episode. Like we knew Mike was in this episode before we saw Mike in the episode. But as much stuff that you guys can hold to the vest while still hyping it, please let that suspense build. So much fun of this series specifically is, unlike mainstream Hasbro Power Rangers, there's not like international releases that leak and then you find out all this stuff, or a toy that came out when you find this. Like you get to have true, the second it posts, people get to be shocked and not like have previous information. So as much of that you can hold and control, please do, just because like that feeling is so hard to find now when watching anything.
I agree with everything you said, but also I meant it differently when I said the surprising. Like you're right, everything I agree. Spoiler, all that. But I also meant that in terms of if you're watching Power Rangers or any standard, authorized by whatever company that has a million shareholders, there's certain things are or are not going to happen. And you could kind of see some telegraphed things coming along the way.
Yeah.
With this, it's like it can be anything. Characters
Yep.
could die, show up, leave, never come again, do something morally questionable, cross time. Like, so I like that aspect of it too.
Yep.
Is that we don't get as many spoilers, and kind of anything can happen, and that's cool. So even if it's not my favorite choice all the time, I like that it's not. It's not super predictable. It's original.
Yep.
And I look forward to the next episode.
Same. I'm not sure. I'm assuming that we'll get another First Ninja or Rise of the Ninja before a Shattered Past.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Really?
I don't know it. I don't know anything. But I just get a vibe that this one is taking precedence, maybe because of Patreon interest or voters or whatever. I mean, it just seems like their hit show, for lack of a better term. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. They probably talk about this in like behind the scenes Q&As and stuff, but I don't like to watch that because I want to be surprised at the show, like based on what we just said. So if you guys know what's coming up next, feel free. And some of the people that make this occasionally watch our reviews, which is crazy and awesome. And if you want to share any information below or links, please do. And please accept our apologies if our criticisms were hurtful.
Everything obviously is said with love, and we hope to at the very least see what some of you guys are going to say, assuming you're going to MorphCon and have a panel or something. Hopefully we get to see you there. If not, at least an online presence would be definitely cool. I think Colin Bass is going to like Anime Pasadena in June, and that should have some Power Rangers stuff. Yeah, I don't know enough about it just because I'm not going, so I'm
also not going, but they did it once before where it's like, I think they did it at a comic convention. This is an anime, whatever, but there's like a little Ranger like quadrant where they have Shattered, they have Nerdbot, Crimson Vision people, and they also have mainline Ranger actors, and it's their little section. But you can find that online, or somebody has the info, drop it in the comments. But yeah, there will be more. We don't know what next there will be, but we look forward to it. In the meantime, next week we will be back. We'll be back to Dino Fury.
Yes, I don't remember what Dino Fury episode we're on, but I have a feeling at our pace we will get the second half of season 2 before we're done reviewing, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, we'll see. It's also the thing of like, I hope it's a good one, because it's always worse when we come back from one of these and then it's a stinker episode. But well, who knows? Until then, I have been Gazbot.
Still Big Dawg Defender. And to the power. See you guys later.
They had speaking of voice auditions, they had I think it was Unworthy had another for Psycho Red voice audition.
I saw that, yeah.
But it was really short because in the past I've auditioned, and this one like, oh, there's an audition. I'm like, oh, I should do that. And then like the next day they're like, okay, we're done. I'm like, what? Oh, okay. Yep. Which is fine, because usually I put a lot of effort into it and then find out I didn't get it. Whereas this time I didn't put any effort into it and had the same results. So
there you go. Yeah.
Bye.